What's up, guys? This podcast is sponsored by Yak Attack, and that's yakattack.us. What Yak Attack is the leader in the kayak fishing industry who specializes in kayak fishing rigging solutions. As kayak anglers themselves, they are tightly integrated into the sport of kayak fishing and acutely aware of what the sport needs. It all starts off with the gear track and or the mighty mount. The gear track comes in all different sizes and colors, and the screwball that attaches to the gear track has everything that attaches to that. So you have this T-bolt that screws into the screwball, that everything attaches to that attaches to your boat, onto your tracks. And what that is a variety of rod holders and camera mounts for your still cameras and any GoPros. Light poles with the day flags that all folds into the flags. Your fish finder mounts and your black pack crate systems. All of Yak Attack's products are made in the USA. A few years ago, Yak Attack set the gold standard with kayak visibility with the VisiCarbon Pro. Fast forward to today, and it remains the most dependable light flag combo in the industry. Its 48-inch deployed height gets the flag and the light up where it can be seen, and the 14-inch collapse length allows you to stow it away easily when it's not in use. The high visibility flag doubles as a pouch, making it easy to pack away. The expectant lamp life of 10,000 plus hours of the ultra bright, high efficient LEDs, and at least 100 hours from the 3 AA batteries that are included. The carbon fiber mass is strong and lightweight, and the narrow profile offers low wind drag. The soft foam keeps it afloat and fits into most rod holders, available in an array of mounting options that fits into just about all boats and popular mounts. Don't compromise with safety. Depend on what tens of thousands of other paddlers trust. There is only one VisiCarbon Pro. And that's the VisiCarbon Pro from Yak Attack at yakattack.us. This podcast is also sponsored by my DVDs at kayakkevin.com. The Kayak Fishing Chesapeake Bay series and the Bay Tour DVD. The fishing DVDs are broken up into a trilogy. Number 1 is the intro into the fishery. It has a full year's worth of footage from more of the larger fish that we target in the lower Chesapeake Bay. The instructional sequels are broken up into 2 parts, the warm water and the cold water species. Number 2 is the warm water species with detailed instruction on the rigs and the fishery itself, spanning from the red drum at the shoal, flounder, and the summer species at the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel, and sight casting the red drum and the striper. Number 3 is the cold water species with detailed instruction on the winter targets, tautog, and the eastern shore striper fishery. The Chesapeake Bay Tour DVD is a 6-week, 600-mile tour I did in 2010 around the Chesapeake Bay, filmed in kind of a Survivor Man style, showing everything I do and look for when I am on a long-distance tour. All of these DVDs are available at kayakkevin.com. It's kayakkevin.com and yakattack.us. Alright, y'all, this is the Florida Tour podcasts. 10 years ago, this is my 10-year anniversary of my Florida tour. In 2005, I paddled from Pensacola, Florida, around up the Intercoastal, back home to here in Norfolk, Virginia. It was 1,800 miles. It took 4.5 months to do, and this is my 10-year anniversary, so I thought I'd go over my notebook that I took on the tour, my journal entries, and kind of go into detail about my experience on the tour. I used to do seminars on this, and for about 3 years afterwards, and I never recorded those, so this is my way of kind of getting it all on tape and getting it done and getting it recorded. This is going to be multiple parts. This is probably going to be a 10 to 12 part series. I'm doing 2-week increments, so I'm trying to do 2 weeks or so, or some of the more intense areas. Just trying to cover this in segments. It's probably going to be about 10 to 12 part segments. So hopefully you enjoy it, and thanks for checking it out. And this is the Florida Tour Podcasts. What's up, y'all? This is podcast number 54. It's May 29th, 2015, and this is the Florida Tour podcast. The 10 years ago I did the Florida Tour, and this is our 10-year anniversary, and I'm going over it. And this segment is part 3 and it is going to be from Tampa to the Everglades, or right to where I get to Everglades. Everglades will be next time. So this is when I last on the last podcast. It was the Big Bend area, so I just spent 2 weeks just traveling in open water, and it was kind of sketchy, but it was really kind of beautiful, kind of sketchy. A lot of headwinds on this side of the Gulf, and it was a little tough. It was kind of my first real true obstacle I thought about this tour. So I was happy to get through it. Got to campground and decided I was going to hang out there for a couple days. So at this point, I'm on for about 4 weeks, maybe a little bit over 4 weeks. I get to a campground. Living large in a little bayou was their slogan, and did all my laundry and did all my. At that point, I was taking 35mm pictures, so I had to mail those home. All the mailing out did all the grocery shopping, just getting ready for the next couple days, the next couple weeks. So from there, I decided I was just going to take it easy. I was going to travel kind of inside of the waterways through here and just kind of take my time and fish. Got a lot of local knowledge from the people at the campground. Got to hang out with a lot of people and talk about the fishery, because I was going to slow down a little bit. I wanted to slow down. So I was right up in here in this little bayou campground. Right here. I think this was it. Right here. And from there I came on out, and they told me about the good spots out here. So I immediately just came out to this island. What was this one? Yep. Came out here and fished on back in the backside of here, and it was kind of sandy, so I came around here and fished on this side of the island, all back in here, and caught lots of trout. Came around here that night, ended up camping on this spoil island here. And these spoil islands were interesting because they had set them up as parks. So, you know, they're good camping spots. I mean, they were nice. They were set up like parks. So I felt nice to do these areas because they're in a beach area, and so they're set up like kind of like the local parks that people can get to. Everybody's got boats, of course, in Florida. So they're really comfy. They're always a little trashy, of course, because you're right in the middle of the city. Man, and camping on them, for me, it was like having, you could still hear the city noise. So it was always just noise and sirens and stuff like that. So that was always happening. It was kind of odd for me, coming from 2 weeks of just being out in the basic wilderness and coming in here to hear a lot of city noise and stuff. But these spoil islands were good. And something about also when they started dredging back before, Florida was the Florida of today. This is what the locals were telling me, so I'm telling you third person, I guess, here. That when they were dredging this area all through here, that the sewage, that before there was cities and stuff, the fishing villages would just, their sewage would go into the water. So there's actually a lot of sediment, and in this mud there was sewage sediment. And so when they dredged them up, after a while, the dredging started killing all the fish. So they quit doing that. So all these spoil islands were like around 60. Last time they were built, the latest where they were built was 60 years ago at that point. So 7 years ago now. But so that was what they told me about that. And but all of them were nice. I mean, they were campable. You zoom in on it, and it's got a little beach and sometimes a little spit on it, and trees. I mean, look at that. You're on a little island. So if when I was paddling through here, of course I felt comfortable paddling on the inside. The next day I just paddled right through the city, basically all through. This would be a Clearwater and St. Petersburg area, and it was there's small islands to stop on and stuff like that. But for me, it was just different. I've been in the wilderness for 4 weeks basically, and just paddling through this area was kind of refreshing. But by the end of the day, I was getting over it. It was kind of like, okay, I've been inside enough and seen enough houses, and it was kind of good to see the architecture of the area, and of course the whole idea of the paddling on the inside for me was. The theory for me at that point was no matter which way the wind is going to blow, I'm going to be able to hide on one side or another. So I had all these headwinds coming on from the south during that whole time during the last couple of weeks. So I wanted to just kind of make sure I could get headway after I did some fishing and stuff. I made some headway, but still make it through these areas without having to stop. And of course, you're in here, and it's not like a straight shot. If I had the wind, I had to carve around and get through and all that stuff, and it was kind of tight channels through there, but it was interesting enough during that day. Got through, paddled this whole area, basically paddled all the way from did a long day that day. Paddled from camped here that night. Camped here that night and started right here. So I paddled that pretty much that day to get through there. Yep. I came on the outside here, a lot of boat traffic and a lot of city traffic, and I came around to this back side of this island here. Now on my map here, and I had charts of the Big Bend, and I was getting charts as I was going, but I didn't figure I needed charts through here. But on my map, it just showed like little mangroves and stuff. But so this barrier island had formed that didn't show on my map, so I was pretty stoked when I got there because I had beach, and it was a big beach. So I paddled all the way around, kind of away from everybody. I mean, that's fairly big, and it was pretty good off over there. Sand Key, and talked to some campers that night and got to hang out with them and give me some beers and a sandwich, and so I was pretty happy that night. Now the next day, as soon as I launched, I went on the outside. It was dead calm when I launched on the outside that morning. I saw what I thought was dolphins, and then one of them came up and didn't have any air blowing out of it, and the sun hit it just right, and it was shiny. So I knew what they were tarpon. So I went chasing after tarpon from here all the way through here, chasing them around real hard right here, and then they came around this pier. They came right around this pier, and I was in between them and the pier, and these pier guys were trying to cast to them, and so I was worried about if one of them hooked up, if they were going to, one of them was going to jump and hit me. So that was kind of sketchy. But I chased these tarpon basically all the way halfway across this inlet. I came across this shipping channel here, and they were still rolling, and I was still casting to them. And they were so close. I was so close to them that I could just cast my lure into their mouth if I knew the timing right. They were just so close. I chased them all the way across. Got tired of it. Knew they weren't going to bite because I gave them plenty of chances. I put the baits right in front of them in the water. I could see them when they were rolling, where they were. I thought I was doing pretty good, and just headed out. Had a good little tailwind. Ended up going back on the inside again. And camping out on this little key right here, and cut my foot pretty bad on the oyster shells right here. But it was interesting because I did see some reds casting through when I went chasing after a red from the shoreline, and cut my foot on an oyster. But saw some people hitting this shallow water right here. In Florida, it was dark water is the shallow parts, and the light water was the deeper part. It was the channels, like it's opposite if you were here. But and also when I was getting through here, I was getting to these crazy tide areas. That's a red from in that early on, a little bit before. Now right here, if you can see that on there, I don't know if you can, it's pretty bright. On the half moons, they were normal tides. And then on the full moons and the new moon, it would go 12-hour tide cycles, kind of like I was in the Panhandle again. So it was like that shit was happening. So I would have long headwind or head currents for a long period of time instead of it shifting around. So that was a pain in the ass. That was becoming more of a pain in the ass to me. Just thinking about getting on the outside. The next day, next day I stayed on the inside again. It was, see, a little bit of a headwind, but otherwise it was fairly good. And it was kind of open water through here, so I was able to hang out in a little bit more open water. Came around, this is Sarasota right here, so I think I stopped on this little spot. One of these little spots right here was a little pier or some kind of park, and it kept going around, but this water is so pretty out there. Anyway, kept going through here, and then the wind started picking up on me right in my face, and then it was just a pain in the ass because it was right southeast, and it was right in my face, so there was no hiding from it. It could have been better on the outside. Actually, would have been, I could have carved the beach, so I would have gone outside here more if I did this again, and especially out there. That water's so beautiful out there. Where is that spot that I camped? I think it's right here. Yeah, it's right here. So this guy told me about this really cool spot. Yeah, right here it is. Used to be an inlet, and it's filled in. There was also a campground nearby that I saw on my atlas here. So I paddled down to see this campground, and I had to kind of walk down to look at it. And their boat ramp wasn't. I couldn't camp close to my boat. So if I left my boat on the boat ramp, I wasn't going to be able to camp near there. I wanted to be able to just stay near my boat so I wouldn't have to pull it and drag it, especially just for an overnighter. If I was staying for a couple of days, yeah, I would get my boat up and try to get it near my camp spot. But if I was just staying there for overnight, I didn't want to do that. So they didn't have a real good spot, and I think I got some waters or something and some more food, and then came down and hit this spot right here. You see, this is a hangout spot, right? You got trails going through there from both sides, and I camped out right over. I just pulled over and camped out right there. I could see my boat. It was a little bit far away, but it was pretty good. The storm hit that night, anyway. But that was a cool spot. And from there, really, I was looking at the water because this was deeper water. I was figuring it was going to be more choppy with the headwinds and stuff, and the wind was blowing. I was like, man, this is nothing. I should be on the outside here. I shouldn't be paddling on the inside. I should be on the outside. I really should have just dragged over and kept on going. But, I was going to have a pit stop here soon at Venice, and that was right up next. I was like, it's just going to be a half day. And when I got there, this is Venice right here. Yeah. When I got there, I stopped at this marina right here. I think Crow's Nest Restaurant in Crow's Nest Marina. And, instead of have dinghy and all that stuff, the dock hand was really cool to me. I'm transient. I paid my dinghy fee and to use the laundry, and he let me use the bike to bike down the street and to the store and get all my shit that I needed for resupply stop. And I was doing my laundry and took a shower, but the restaurant was just high end restaurant. Didn't like me being around there, and I was more clean cut than I am now. I was a little scruffy being on the water, but tattoos, I guess. And so this guy was giving me shit, and I was like, look, I paid my dinghy fee, I'm here, I'm good, he still gave me shit. Camped out on this island here, and so this area at the time was having a real bad red tide. Fish were dead everywhere, it was getting pretty bad. It wasn't stinking yet, it just hit that area, but the guys were telling me how bad it was. I saw every type of fish in the water that was just dead and floating, big ones too, like snook. I haven't even caught snook yet, and there I'm seeing them dead before I get to catch them. So that sucked. Saw a lot of dead fish, and he said that it was so bad. Tarpon were dying on the outside because they can't get the breath right there because it cuts off all the oxygen right there at the surface. So even manatees are dying from this stuff. It's not so much they're poisoning them; it just cuts off the oxygen right above the water, and they can't get any breath. So that was that was getting pretty bad. And also, the first tropical storm of 2005 was spurred up in the Gulf and was getting pretty close. And that night, as I was listening to my radio, the alarm came on, and a water spout was nearby. And it was pretty hard storm. I was having 30, 40 mile an hour winds, gale force winds through this whole thing. It was pretty rough storm. But that was. So that was my first kind of bad storm during this tour so far, near hurricane, and a confirmed water spout. So it was, and one of the things about the water spouts is, yeah, it's not a tornado, but once it hits land, as soon as it hits the beach, it is, and it's not so much that thing picking me up or picking my stuff up and throwing me. It's picking up the debris on the beach. Imagine all the shells on the beach and having that stuff spun up into a whirlwind, into a meat grinder in the air. I mean, that thing would shred me, shred my tent. It would be kind of hard to get some shelter from that. So that was the big thing I was worried about with water spouts. And that's what you have to deal with, especially in Florida. So yeah, I stayed there for I think maybe 2 days. I guess resupplied because that storm was one of those days. So I just hung out. The next day, the stink was getting so bad from the dead fish, and they were starting to rot, that I was getting maggots everywhere. Maggots were everywhere. They're in my boat, and they were crawling on me at some points. So I was like, okay, I gotta get out of here. I gotta get away from this area, right? So I took off again, and again I went on the inside because that day it was blowing 10 to 15 from the south. So it actually was, I had plenty of opportunities days before to be on the outside when it was nice and calm, and now it's blowing, and I want to get on the outside because there's dead maggots and everything on the inside. So paddled through this canal. Right about here, I remember something, because there was 4 yachts come right behind me. And in these tight canals, they slow down when they see a kayaker to not wake you. But, if you've been on the water enough and when boats slow down, if they slow down, you're here. And they slow down, and if they pick up again, usually you pick up to right where that big wake comes to. And if they slow down, they throw a bigger, more powerful wake. If they were staying on plane. So right through here, I was like, okay, I'm sick of this. Sick of all these boats always slowing down when they see me. I'm one kayaker, I'm out of the way, just keep on going. So soon I was paddling, and as soon as I heard they're starting to throttle down, I just wave them through. I just drop my paddle and just go, come on, just come on. So they did it. The first one did it, and then the next ones did it. And so 4 of them would have had to slow down and just take a half hour basically to get past me. I just wanted to get by, and they all thanked me as they went by. So I thought that was kind of neat. This area was kind of neat. This was a little nice little area. Again, I kind of stopped a little bit and checked it out. But I kept on going through, and the wind was getting bad. And I remember through here, I was just carving underneath as close or underneath of the docks as I could to stay out of the wind. It was blowing just straight through this channel, just straight in my face the whole time. Wasn't able to get out of it too much. Did I camp here? No, I didn't. Yes, I did. Okay, yeah, I camped right over here. Yeah, I think I camped right here that night. The wind was getting to me. Yeah, it was a pain in the ass. But the next day, I came outside. Came on through and came outside at what is this, Casparilla Island. So right through here, as I was paddling through here, was first. Where's that? Paddling real close to here, and this is famous area because this is the tarpon area, right? This is where all the big tarpon happened during that tarpon run. And I was fairly close to being in that area when it was happening. There was tarpon out there. Of course, for me, I wanted to be in it, right? I wanted to see what it was like. With the local knowledge, I decided not to. With all the guys at the campground, they were telling me about how crazy it is at that. Not only with the fish and the sharks that are attracted now to the fish because of the people catching them, The boats are crazy out there. Tarpon fly and hit people on the towers. It's just kind of a madhouse. So they advised me to stay away from it. And as I got near it, I did. I just didn't want to mess with it. Did see a million rays paddle through here, and I saw this area. I thought this was pretty cool. Later on, I found, I see on a fishing show that they were pulling big Goliath grouper out of there. So I remember I saw the fishing show. I was like, I've seen that place before, and it was that spot. I paddled across into Costa Island. Camped out right on the inside right here. Yeah, right here. And that night, see, these are rocks. These are rock formations underwater. And to the next page before I tell this story. So I'm right there, and I'm walking down, and so I haven't caught a snook yet. I'm getting irritated. I'm seeing them everywhere. I just can't catch them. And I've been doing a retrieve of what I would do for speckled trout here, weedless, weightless hook type of thing, or lightly weighted weedless type of hook, jerk bait, suspended. And I was doing it like I'll do it for specks, just dip, 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 kind of walking dog underwater, let it drop a little bit, real slow kind of retrieve. And I could see them in these rocks. I mean, I was walking right here, and I could see them lined up with the current going out, lined up underneath these rocks, waiting for ambush spots. So I could see them, and I just wasn't able to get them to hit with the retrieve I was doing. So then I was gonna make another cast. I swept too far. I was making another cast. I was reeling real fast, and one nails it. And I was like, oh, okay, hard retrieves, erratic retrieves, striper retrieves. How I would do for striper here would be real erratic and kind of crazy retrieves. So that's what got me my first snook. And finally I had him. And once I figured that out, I was catching them. I sat there and I knocked them down. I just was as many. I could see them. I could see them right in these rocks, and it was awesome. I was wading out a little bit, and I could see. It was cool. I was really happy to finally get the first snook of the trip, and I've been in snook area for like 2 weeks, and it was or 3 weeks at this point, and it was driving me crazy. So finally I'd gotten it. Also saw some wild pigs on this island too, and when people ask me if I carry weapons, when I do tours south of here, I carry a weapon, and not so much for the people, but for critters like wild boar or gators or stuff like that. Wild boar is probably the one that scares me the most. I had some my first tour. I saw some evidence of them, and it was pretty sketchy. Had some on this tour too, but there was a small family of them, some baby ones, and so yeah. And they weren't wild boar yet. They were black, so they were still domesticated. I guess not too far from domesticated wild pigs. Anyway, that was nice. I was there. So next time I went outside, and it was just pretty out here, man. It was really, really pretty. Paddled all the way around. I think I camped out right here. Yeah, I did a real short day. Wanted to do some more fishing, and got around to here, and I think there were some trees in the water. I think it was right there. I paddled around to Sanibel Island. Is that an inlet now? Oh, I know. When I was paddling over these islands, I forgot what hurricane it was, but it was interesting seeing the hurricane damage, because north side of the island, the trees are laying one way, and the other side of the island, the trees are laying the other way. The eye went like right over this. A couple years before that, I can't remember what hurricane it was. Yeah, I didn't write down what hurricane it was. Right. So I get around to Sanibel. Did I camp? I'm not exactly sure where. Okay, it wasn't there. It was right around here. It looks different from my maps and what I remember it was, because I thought it was around here somewhere. I think it was here. Yeah. think it was right on here. Had these trees. Oh, maybe it was north of here. Anyway, from my map, it was showing me I was camping. Map was showing me I was camping in this area here. But that is the resort. I remember seeing that, and I'm thinking I was camping more north of that. Anyway, where I was camping had trees in the water, like this. This is where it was, and I was catching snook out of every one of those trees. I mean, and it was so fun because they're about 18, 20-inch snook, there, right there, and it was so fun because it was just throwing it into these trees and hooking them, and they jump every time. So they were kind of like striper that would jump. That's what it was kind of like. I mean, they were just sweeping at it, swiping at it. I didn't have to do cast too far. I mean, just right at my feet. But that evening, I'm sitting there eating my raviolis, and I see a giant one swim by, and with males bumping on her. It was spawning time, and they spawn right along the shoreline, from what I understand. So I had these size males bumping on a 40-incher, and she's cruising. I mean, right at the surf break. I mean, right as the waves are curling under, she's right there and cruising by. I see this, and I just drop my food, everything, grab my rod, and are chasing her down the line, just trying to get the bait in front of her, trying to get it to hit. I mean, I walk a half mile, casting in front of her, casting in front of her, casting in front of her. Finally, she takes it, wham, she bites it, and she just shakes, and it's just big and heavy, and she ends up, I hold on to her for a couple minutes, maybe a minute, maybe 2 minutes, and she just wears through the line. I mean, a 30-pound leader, but she just, sandpaper mouth, just shaking, just wears through it, breaks. So, and the thing is, I wouldn't even have a picture because it was too far from my camera. I took off running without my camera. I didn't even get a shot of that, but that was awesome, and that was so crazy because it was probably the biggest fish I would have ever had next to that black drum I'd caught on this tour already, but that was something else. That was cool. That next morning I caught that, launched again, and this charter captain, he was out there, Captain Ozzie Fisher, pointed me out some more snook. So he had me on some. He pointed me out some more ones, so I caught some more the rest of that day coming around this corner, and they were everywhere, man. It was awesome. Little holes, you could see them, the dark spots. Just cast into that, getting them out of there. I mean, up to some decent 24 and 26 inchers. So that was a lot of fun. I paddled around and in behind here, and on my maps it was showing that these had campgrounds everywhere. So my goal was I was going to go back here and like fish in the docks and the lights and stuff. Now the thing is, most of the bridges had real high bridge, so the lights weren't right on the shoreline like at the HRBT. My fish were here. I wanted to do some nighttime fishing, but in these campgrounds weren't campgrounds. There were RV parks, so I couldn't really fish camp there, and so it was just bad. So I just left, came around. It was getting dark. Came around here, ended up camping, I think right inside in this spot right here. When I came around this corner, there was some naked couple on the I guess they were on the shoreline there, and they scurried. I don't know why they scurried. I was far out, but there was I had a moment of loneliness when I saw them. It was it was been funny, but at the same time I was like, man, I'm out here alone, and there's a couple having fun together, and I just had that. I remember I wrote it down in the journal that I had an extreme moment of loneliness. It was kind of sad. That I felt sad, but that's what I was out there. I was out there to do this, and I was going. I had to do it alone. So landed and camped there for that night. Next day, of course, outside. This is the end of the intercoastal anyway. Besides him, I could have came here, but I just stayed on the outside, kept on going. Saw an osprey come down, hit the shoreline, catch a spadefish right in the shoreline, or it could have been a sheepshead, but it was striped. Came all the way down to Naples Pier. Where is it? Oh, that's it right there. Yeah, to the Naples. What I was looking for was I needed like a DOA bait, right? Everybody was telling me this is what the snooker we're gonna bite on, right? And so I was desperately looking for that. I was looking for a tarpon bait. So I was in the tarpon area. I just wanted something. So everywhere I was looking for a tackle shop that had something, and so I stopped at this pier here at Naples, and I think I was seeing if they had a tackle shop on it or something, and I was talking to a guy, and he said no, but he had a storm lure or something he was going to sell me. So I was like, great, yeah, I'll buy it. So he came down and gave me that, and thanks and all that stuff. So I felt confident I had a tarpon lure on. So as we were talking, the cop came down and he said, you have to stay 150 feet away from this pier. And he pointed at the sign and it said no walking near the pier 150 feet or anything. And there's people everywhere. There's people underneath the pier. There's people swimming underneath the pier. There's people everywhere. And I was looked at him like, are you shitting me? And, but he was being a dick. And so when I launched, he was like, you better pedal out away from this pier. I was like, are you fucking shitting me? I can see where people's lines are just straight down. So I paddled out 150 feet and just stared at him. And he walked out to the end of the pier and stared me down and I kept paddling. I stayed out here. He came down, got in his four-wheeler, and followed me a mile down the beach. Just to make sure, that being a thing, I just stayed off the beach and just stayed way away from him through this whole area. I mean, he followed me pretty much all the way down to here. So I just stayed out. Got past here. He wasn't going to follow me past here. Fuck him. And then I came all the way down to Little Marco Pass. This spot was awesome. This spot was a great little spot. Fishing the whole time was incredible. There were a lot of shit you can see. There's boats lined up right here in this Google shot or this Bing Map shot. There's a hangout spot. I mean, look at this big beach everywhere. That blue water, that blue-green water. It's like the main channel coming in and out of behind Marco Island. Really cool spot. Did a lot of fishing right through here. A lot of jacks, a lot of snook. Let's see. That's Naples. Oh, when I was going through Naples, did I write that down? Yeah. So I'm paddling through outside Naples. Is a great day and all that stuff. There's a sandbar on the outside, and it was either a cobia or a shark. It was on the sandbar, just cruising the sandbar, fast, hunting. It looked more like a shark. I get down a little bit, and there's some people out on the sandbar, having a good time and stuff. And like I told them, I said about half mile down, I saw a shark on the sandbar. He said, "No, really?" They didn't believe me. They were like thinking I was fucking with them. I was like, "No, I wasn't." I'm hoping I didn't hear a shark attack that day. that day it would have been sucked. That would have sucked. But anyway, I saw that, and it just was funny because they didn't believe that. There's no sharks around here, but yeah, there's sharks right around there. Yeah, so that was that. And here's the Little Marco Pass, set up camp right there. That was just an awesome spot. Everybody fishing, lots of jacks. Caught my first mangrove snappers right there. Small ones. I don't even think they're a legal size to keep. I probably could have ate them if I wanted to. Actually, I had cooking gear during this time. Snook, mangrove snappers, and these little jacks. And so from there, I went outside of Marco Island, and I should have cut. Now I should have went outside and actually should have camped on Cape Romano. This is a big, really great area. I should even just went out there just to see it, and I didn't. I should have, because there's famous there's some famous, there they are, these things. They're the octagon, little dome-shaped type of houses on stilts right there. Yeah, so those are all kind of famous. Some people hanging out, of course, but I didn't. I went on the inside to cut through. So now I'm going to Everglades City here. Everglades City. The next spot was going to be the Everglades. I had to go check in with the Everglades State Park and get campsites and all that stuff, and resupply at there. And then I was going to stay at Chucklahusky at their campground. I'm going to stop right here, and this has only been 40 minutes or so, but I'm going to stop right here because the next podcast will be on the Everglades. As I was paddling through here, immediately it's feeling different. I mean, I just left this area, left civilization. Really what it felt like. That was my last little bit of civilization, was Marco Island, and here I paddled through. I paddled through right through here, and I go out in the open water. I got tailwind with me, and I just look over the 10,000 Islands area, and it just looks like wilderness. It's crazy. I paddled up to it. It says, "Welcome to the Everglades National Park." National Park, and there's, the cormorants on it. And there's a giant storm behind it, and if you look on the storm over the 10,000 Islands, that was like one of the first things I saw. So it just looked ominous. It looked dark and ominous, and I tell you what, this Everglades segment, I changed going through that. It was rough. It was a rough ordeal. It was like I kind of survived it. I kind of lost my mind in the Everglades. Had my closest near death experience, and caught a tarpon. But it was rough. It was a true ordeal that I'm about ready to go through, and I feel that it's going to be that. The next obstacle of this tour was the Everglades. Everything you hear about it, it's desolation. Not desolation, but it's wilderness, and it's out there. And in reality, when I'm out in this part of the world, I am really far from anything. When I was even your little outpost, Flamingo or Everglades City or Marco Island, you're still days away from it by kayak if I got hurt out there. So really, truly, this part felt like I was out there. I was on my own, and I had to just survive it with myself. And it was tough. It went through it. The Everglades put me through the test, definitely, my test, and I got through the other side, and I was different on the other side. Even different today from it. So that's coming up next. Next podcast. Well, hopefully we're going to do one here soon with Lee and Matt Lusk from Carolina when Lee went down and did some cobia fishing and landed one. We still have our red drum and spring report to do on a podcast here soon too. Well, maybe me and Lee will do that here soon and do a podcast on that because we had a good season. Caught 7 reds so far this year for the spring season, big reds, and it's not bad. So next time is the Everglades, or we're going to do another Lee podcast here soon. Thanks for listening on this one. This is podcast number 54, and Florida Tour Part 3. Thanks to our sponsors, Yak Attack at yakattack.us, and my DVDs at kayakevan.com. Thanks, guys.